show you how to make banana bread. I know everybody at the moment is making banana bread across the world. I seem to be seeing it everywhere, and I suppose that's because there are bananas going off. Well, that's certainly the case here. I keep buying lots and lots of bananas whenever I go out, which is only once every 10 days. And usually I have a banana milkshake in the morning for breakfast, but even so, I still bought too many. And a friend of ours has 6 children, so a couple of days ago I made 3 banana loaves and I took them around 2. And I think that might help with the amount of food that they have to make. Anywho, I'm going to show you how to make this. It's very easy and it's delicious, and it's actually a Hawaiian recipe, which makes me wonder why it doesn't have pineapple in it or coconut. But anywho, it has instead a very bizarre ingredient. I've never seen this before, or encountered it when making banana bread. And it is a packet of instant custard. Anywho, I tried it. It was absolutely delicious, and we had nice warm slices, Mr. Cookie and I, with butter on top. It was very good. Okay, so let me show you what ingredients you will need if you would like to do this, and I seriously suggest you do it because it's very, very delicious. Okay, so you need, and of course I'll write this down at the end, but you need 1.5 cups of sugar, 4 eggs, some vegetable oil. That could be sunflower, regular vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, cheap olive oil that doesn't have much flavour. That would all be fine. And you need 4 good sized bananas, so not the little ones. I don't ever think you really find enormous ones, but these are really good, quite good size. And they need to look like this because they'll be soft and squidgy and much easier for you to mash with a fork. You need 2 teaspoons of baking soda and just half a teaspoon of baking powder. I'm using some spray oil to spray my loaf tins with, and I have 3 regular sized loaf tins here. I don't expect you'll all have lots of loaf tins like I do, so don't worry about that. You can use almost anything. You could use, anything that could go in the oven. So you could use a casserole, you could use a roasting tin, you could use a cake tin, you could use 2 cake tins. The idea though is that your mixture doesn't get much higher than 2 inches. If you make it too deep or too shallow, you won't get the loaf consistency. And the only reason that we really call this a banana loaf or a banana bread is because of the shape of it, but don't let that bother you. You could have a triangle or a circle or a love heart. It really doesn't matter. It's all going to taste delicious. So what else? 2.5 cups of flour and 2 cups of chopped nuts. Today I'm using pecans because that's all I had in my cupboard. But you can get mixed chopped nuts already chopped for you at the supermarket. You can get walnuts, which I made the other day, which were very nice. And banana and walnut is a bit of a classic. And mine weren't chopped already for me, so I put them in a whizzer that I would use for coffee grounds. But they're very easy just to chop. You just got to be careful of fingers. Okie dokie, I think that's about all. Yeah, and the bonkers ingredient, the packet of custard powder. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to put into my mixer 1.5 cups of sugar and 4 eggs. It's actually quite a good idea if you're nervous about breaking eggs into food to break them into a separate bowl first, and that way if you make a mess it doesn't matter, or if you get eggshell everywhere it doesn't really matter. The other trick, and I learned this from a chef called Anthony Worrell Thompson, was it him? Anyway, eggshell attracts eggshell. a little bit like magnets. So if you do drop a little bit in, use the edge of the eggshell to scoop it out, and it will sort of gravitate towards it and stick to the eggshell. Much simpler than using your fingers or a spoon. And then also 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. Like I said, it could be just regular vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, flavourless cheap olive oil, or sunflower oil. This is a good recipe if you're out of butter as well, although you will need butter afterwards on every slice because it does make it yummier, in my opinion. But I like butter on everything, as you can tell. Okay, so this now goes in with the eggs and the sugar, and I give that a really good whiz up. Okay, so Mr. Cookie, who is acting as my film director, film producer, film everything at the moment, has just pointed out to me that I said that you could chop the nuts up in a coffee grinder, and he disagrees with me. Please check with your mum and dad before doing that, because some coffee grinders are specialists, but that's what I've always done with the coffee grinder for beans and nuts, in my opinion. But hey ho, no doubt Mr. Cookie will Google that shortly. And secondly, I mentioned that I delivered a banana loaf to my friends. Well, I did, and I'm here in France. This is actually the kitchen in my barn, which I had hoped to have cooking classes in this summer, but that's not going to happen. Which is though it's great. I'm doing it with you, which is fun. Anywho, I wrote out my attestation, which is a piece of paper that you cannot leave your house without. Went round to their house in the car, which is about 5 minutes away, knocked on the door, delivered the food, and then scooted off. So, just so that you know, I'm being very, very, very careful. Okay, good. Right, now, I have beaten up the egg and sugar and olive oil, and now I'm just going to basically add all the rest of the ingredients. At this point, it's very good if you have written out the ingredients at the beginning. You should always do that anyway. You should always read a recipe through, take out the ingredients before you start, because there's nothing worse than getting halfway through and realising you haven't got everything. So I would double check that you've got all the ingredients now. Whenever a recipe says throw in all the remaining ingredients, it's very good for you to check it off that you've actually put in everything that you're supposed to. Right, so I'm going to put in the nuts, so, and they go. That's 1.5 cups of nuts. I think I might have said 2, well, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but 1.5 cups of chopped nuts, whatever you prefer. And then I'm going to add baking soda. This recipe requires quite a bit of baking soda, it's quite interesting. 2 teaspoons. Level. Sorry, baking soda. 2 teaspoons of baking soda. I thought that was a bit lumpy. Here we go. 1, 2, and then just half a teaspoon of baking powder, which we want level. And the bizarre ingredient, one packet of easily found from almost anywhere custard powder. Okay. That's always in my cupboard, weirdly. I don't even like custard unless it's made from scratch, but at Christmas time there are a lot of children here and it's quite good to be able to whip that up quickly and put it over anything. Okie dokie, especially as it's quite difficult to get cream here in France. Now I've got to do my bananas. I'm going to show you how I do these. I won't show you how I do all 4 of them because that would be boring. I'll turn the camera off. But basically, oh, also flour. Can't forget that. So I measured out 2 cups of flour, just standard flour. And now I can use this bowl. Now I need a fork. Excuse me for a moment while I get a fork. Just use the fork like this and squish the banana up. It doesn't take very long, and the older the bananas are, the easier it is to do. And also the older the bananas are, the tastier it is, because the riper they get, the more of a banana taste they seem to have. Okie dokie, so I'll carry on with that. Here we go, I've mashed that up. It's all like baby food now, and made me smile the whole way, because in 6 weeks I'm having my first grandchild, or my daughter is going to have my first grandchild for us, and in about a year's time I'll be mashing bananas all the time. Cannot wait. So this goes in. Would be easier to use a spoon, I have to say, at this point, but not to worry. The less dishes, the better, in my opinion. And one last thing would be some salt. You just want a teaspoon, like so, and sprinkle that in. And because I'm absolutely ridiculous and a little bit superstitious in the kitchen, they will be gone. Here we go. So I'm going to whiz this up just enough so that I can't see the flour. I don't really want to do it too much. I'm not going to walk away and hoover the house or any bizarre thing like that. So just until you can't see any flour, everything's blended nicely. One other thing I forgot to do was to spray my tins at the beginning. It's always a good idea when you're making a cake or a loaf or that sort of thing to prepare your tins first and switch the oven on. So I've switched the oven on to 175 degrees, and these will cook for about 45 minutes. Yeah, so I will spray these, and I've already turned my oven on. You don't need to line these, they come out quite easily. Just give it a good spray. Or you could just use a bit of butter, or you could put some oil onto sometimes what I do is put a little bit of oil into the tin and then get a piece of paper towel and just wipe it all around. Okie doke. And now I'm going to put the mixture in. So remember what I said about the tin. If you don't have 3 loaf tins, don't worry about it. Just use a cake tin or a roasting tin, or you could use a glass Pyrex casserole dish. It might be rectangular, but if it's honestly whatever shape, it doesn't matter. I don't think. Once it's in your tummy won't mind. Just don't let it get higher, whatever tin you're using, then definitely, probably 2 inches, about 5 centimetres. Don't need to get higher than 5 centimetres, I'd say. Make sure that they're even. There we go. They look pretty good. So I'm just going to put these in the oven now. the recipe from Hawaii said 45 minutes, and in actual fact when I made these the other day they weren't quite ready in my opinion, so I gave them another 10 minutes, 55 minutes all up, and they were perfect. So maybe it's just the oven, I don't know, maybe the ovens are better in Hawaii. Okay, in the oven they go. So I'm just going to clean up my mess now, and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. There we have it, 3 banana loaves or banana breads. They've just come out of the oven, and I had a look actually. The other day, as I said, I made 3 of these, but I made them in my kitchen up at the main house. And maybe there is a difference in the ovens, I'm not sure, but these at 45 minutes look perfect. The only way to check is to put a skewer inside. If the skewer comes out a little bit gooey, that means that the mixture inside hasn't cooked. If the skewer comes out without anything on it, then that means that the ingredients inside have cooked and they're dry. So here we go, right into the middle to wherever the thickest part is. And they're cooked. They've got a nice sort of a crunchy top, and they'll be lovely inside. I've actually got some left over from the batch I made before. So that's what it looks like inside. It's got lovely nuts and it's got the nice speckly bit of the banana. It always looks like ants to me. There we go. Oh. And some delicious butter on top. You don't have to do that. It's far healthier not to, but I love butter. I love butter a lot. And I really love French butter. So I'm sorry Charlie and Alexander and Ben and Russell, but I actually have to say, as a person that comes from a country that's famous for its butter, I just think French make the best butter. Oh, lush. I don't drink tea or coffee, unfortunately, just banana milkshakes, cocoa and wine, but if I did drink a cup of tea or coffee, I think this would be perfect with it. Really, really good. Back to these. If you leave them to cool this tin for just a few minutes, that's a good idea. But you might be in a hurry, like I am, to show you. So I'm going to go around the edges with a knife, just to loosen it, just in case something got stuck. And this surface is clean and cold, so I don't mind tipping it out onto that surface. Well, that is really delicious, actually. Okay, so a little bit too hot still. There we go. One banana loaf. Two banana loaves. Three banana loaves. Whoa. Okay, there we go. Enjoy making that. It's very simple and really worth it. You can now eat one of these warm, delish, with butter, more delish. The other two, you might want to freeze. When you freeze a cake or a banana loaf such as this, trust me, they come out of the freezer, you defrost them, they're as fresh as the day that they were baked, and they taste even nicer. So yeah, very, very easy to freeze. Wrap them up in cling film and pop them in the freezer. And don't forget to write on them what they are, because, oh well, I'm sure that you won't be making too many different loaves, but yeah, okay. Happy cooking. Oh my goodness, I got in trouble yet again by Mr. Cookie. Okay, so children, if you want to be a silly superstitious person like myself and you are using salt and you throw it over your shoulder, be careful that nobody is behind you so you don't blind them, and also don't do too much. It should only be about 3 or 4 grains if you are going to do it. Okay, be safe.